Well, don't look now, but June 15th is just around the corner, and that's the date that our governor, Gavin Newsom, said that the state could open up if the coronavirus numbers stay the way they're going. Now remember, this is the same governor who told us that we were going to have 26 million Californians infected with this coronavirus and a number of other things that happened. So he has also made some very unpopular choices. He went to an infamous dinner that I know he wishes he had not gone to. And so we turn to the expert, as the recall will probably be formally announced in the next few days, and then we will have a chance for Californians to vote whether or not we want the governor to stay in office. So we turn to our expert, Bryan, who has seen a lot of these things come and go, some good, some bad, and he always has a good insight. So we sat down with Dave and we picked his brain. Will the governor be recalled?
It's possible, but certainly unlikely. If the coronavirus turns around again and hits, and makes another impression here in California in a negative way, that could really hurt him a lot.
So what we're looking again is basically what happened to President Trump.
That's exactly right.
Because if the virus had not been there...
That's right. These days, the coronavirus is calling the shots in politics.
We talked about this early when it first started, and everybody thought, as you did as well, that this was just a small group of mostly Orange County Republicans who were ticked off at the governor.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, he went to dinner.
Yeah, that's right, yes. The infamous dinner.
Is it unfair to say that if it had not been for that dinner that cost a fortune, and then he lied about the fact that he was outside and wearing a mask.
Yes, that's right.
Would any of this be happening today?
Probably not. But you see, the thing is, they had already put in the paperwork for the recall before all of this happened.
Yeah,
they were all. But you're right.
It's going nowhere.
That's right. That's exactly right. But I think the point is that the other thing that hurt him was the movement of vaccines into California. It did not get off to a good start, and there were a lot of people lining up for hours and hours just to be told, "Hey, we're out now. Come back another day." And that was pretty widespread. And if it had continued that way, I think they would have had a fairly decent chance of maybe knocking him off. But now things have really turned around. It seems,
It's going to qualify. You're going to have it. Is anyone going to take Jenner seriously?
I haven't seen her in a political position, but I don't think so. In some respects, it seems like the last time we had this in 2003, there were 135 candidates on the ballot.
Yeah, but the big name.
That's right. That's right. The big name was Schwarzenegger, and he was a much more serious person, I think, as a candidate. No, I think it's going to be difficult for people to really take her seriously. And who's going to vote for her? Okay, let's go down the list here. Okay, Republicans, they're not going to vote for someone like her. As long as the coronavirus thing keeps going in a positive direction, by the time this happens in November, assuming that there are no turnarounds, Democrats are certainly not going to vote for her, and most independents don't even necessarily know who she is unless they watch TV on the Kardashian show, or watch the Olympics 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So where's it going to come from?
That's a good point. I think 10% of the people might know that Bruce Jenner, who's now
maybe,
Jenner,
yeah,
was a great decathlete.
That's right. They remember the Wheaties boxes with his picture, but it's been almost 50 years.
Greatest athlete in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Playing the devil's advocate with you on the campaign trail.
Bring it on.
On the campaign trail. Okay, Governor, how do you prove to California that the date June 15th is not something that is political, because you are going to face a recall, and this is based on signs? You're going to open up the entire state. All of a sudden, coronavirus, we've got it controlled. June 15th, the magical date. How do you explain that?
Well, I think, I think the bottom line is, if it works, and if things really do start to expand and people are going back to work and the economy is turning back around, I don't think anyone's going to care, I really don't. I think that's, as we've mentioned before, I'd say 90% of it is probably, going to be decided by how this thing works.
If If
or
he
doesn't
didn't-
work.
If he didn't face a recall, would he still have made this pronouncement on June 15th? The world is going to open up in California?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I'm really not sure because maybe he just got lucky, right? It's really hard to know. But the improvement of things in vaccines has really helped him a lot. And if it continues, and it may not, it could turn around quickly too. We've seen that.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, the other states are getting the other surge. Europe is a mess now, but
That's
California,
right.
California is
Michigan, horrible.
I mean, California's chugging along.
Yeah,
I mean, and
yeah.
he's obviously, right or wrong, is going to stand up and say, "See, look what I did."
Yeah.
I listen to the science. I listen to that. So he's
You're
going
right.
to be tough to beat. You think there's any Democrat at all that is going to throw his hat in the ring?
Well, Villaraigosa has certainly been mentioned as somebody who's thinking about it, but see, I think the problem for him or for any Democrat is the party is absolutely 100% with Newsom, and that means no Democrat. Don't put any Democrats on the ballot because it will deter from the number of people voting for him, at least in theory, right? And again, you're not really voting for him on the ballot. You're just voting whether to recall him or not.
Right.
And if some Democrats, the other candidates are running, they may decide, hey, yeah, let's get rid of him and get another Democrat in there, right? But I think it's going to be very difficult to overthrow him. I really do. I think it's going to be not impossible, but
You got the restaurant owners who were shut down.
yeah.
Many of whom are not going to come back. You got parents who are just livid that their kids have been out of school for more than a year. Now it's starting again, Yeah. And then again, you've got all of these other people who thought that maybe this whole thing, the way the governor went about it, these draconian things, he became a dictator. You think people are going to say, you know what, just because of all of that, and because he went to that dinner, and because he has this air of sophistication about him, I'm going to vote him out.
The reason I don't think it's going to happen, with probably maybe a few people here or there, but I don't think it's going to happen in large numbers, and here's why. The Democratic campaign is going to be built around Donald Trump.
Okay.
All three of the I would say major Republican candidates who would otherwise take over, let's say, they all have connections with Trump. I'm not saying they were close to him or anything, but they certainly supported him, and that will be what you're going to be seeing and hearing from the Democrats, because clearly that is poison in this state, politically speaking, of course, and I think that's how they're going to frame it. I mean, and I don't care, who it is. If there are another 135 candidates this time around, if they can connect the major Republican candidates to Donald Trump, I don't see it happening. I don't see it,
If he beats the recall,
Yeah.
what kind of future does he have?
I think it's too early to tell because, so much of our time and energy has been devoted to the coronavirus over the first few years. If this goes away, which it does seem to be receding, and let's hope it continues that way, then we'll have to see what he does with other issues that are affecting California, and there are plenty of them,
Because the polls for a while there, I mean, he was king. I mean,
Yeah.
he was doing everything right. He was the darling.
That's right.
Not only of California voters, but nationwide people were looking at him.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, then he hit the skid marks.
yeah, you're right.
Is he coming back a little bit?
Yeah, I think he is. And I think it's because things are opening up now for people, And look, people just want to get back to work. They want to get back to their jobs. They want to make, their salaries, and they want their kids to be in school, And it certainly looks like we're moving in that direction. If that continues, that to me is a big advantage for him. Because what happened a year ago or 6 months ago, I don't think anyone really cares. It's what's happening now. And truthfully, at this time, at this place and time, that is the only issue, I believe.
Can it get any wackier than what it is now?
Well, I will read you a couple of the folks who are among the candidates. Angeline, the
Okay.
pink car lady,
Sure. Yeah.
Billboard, she's running. Former stripper Mary Carey is
Yeah.
running. I mean, it's really starting to look like a circus in some ways,
Yes.
I mean, that's.
Give me a prediction on what you think is going to happen on the recall.
I think that Governor Newsom will not be recalled. I think the vote will be in his favor. If it was done today, I think it would be pretty easy. It may be pretty easy in the end, too, because, as I say, the Democratic campaign against the recall will be looking at, here are the alternatives, right? You know, this guy did this with Trump, and this guy and this gal, you know. Even as we said earlier, Jenner, you know, supported Trump in 2016. Now, did she vote for Trump? No. Why didn't she vote for Trump? Because she didn't vote for anybody. 2/3 of the votes since in the last 20 years, 2/3 of them she hasn't voted in. To me, based on her history, the TV stuff and all of the things that came after the Olympics, you know, I think she just really, really wants to have that attention.
Does Newsom have a problem with people not thinking that he feels that he is better than anybody else? He has this elitist. I mean, am I wrong? Am I the only one that thinks that?
No. There is that. I mean, that's not all he is, but that is one. There is a piece of that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you went to high school, there was always that 2 or 3 rich guys that showed up in the fancy car, and had the wingtips at that time and the fancy things, and they kind of, you know, down at you, you know.
Yeah.
Is that unfair to label Newsom that way?
Well, I mean, I think there's more to him than that, but that certainly is the piece. You certainly get that feeling sometimes about him. Oh, he's the rich guy. Yeah. And even, as you mentioned, the party they had, you know, he's telling everybody else, you got to wear masks, you can't go into restaurants, you got to do this. And he's got 50 people inside a restaurant with no masks, and, you know, they're having a party.
Yeah, and then he lies about it until the picture came out.
That's right.
Whoops, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, that kind of leaves people with the impression that, oh, he's Mr. Rich Guy. He can do whatever he wants, you know. I think Trump only got 29% of the vote this last time around, here in California. I mean, you know, I just can't see the state changing that much unless there is another, you know, terrible turnaround.
What we're going to do, we're going to tease people, and we're going to bring up the name George Gascon. There's going to be a recall effort beginning on May the 1st.
That's right.
Give me a 15, 20-second synopsis on what we'll talk more about, but the future of Mr. Gascon as DA.
Well, the thing is, George Gascon ran as a guy who's going to shake things up, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now, the problem for him is that murder rates are up, serious, you know, gang crimes are up. It's a very difficult time for for him to be switching away from throwing these people in jail, you know, and throwing away the key, into, well, let's rehabilitate. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I think he's got a rough road to hoe, and you know, it's a very difficult. It would be difficult under the best of circumstances, but now with some of these crime rates, you know, 300 murders in L.A., you know, last year. That's the biggest number they've had in a decade.
So the opinion that some people have is that he is really soft on crime and thinks more about the criminals. Right or wrong, don't answer.
But
good seeing you there.
That's it?
That's it. You got it?
we weren't rolling.
Now roll again, huh?